Chantal Weaver, how much did you do last year?
450.
Where are you at year to date right now? Gotta be
I think
close.
like 380 something, 387.
So it's safe to say you're in a smash last year.
Yeah.
Did you work harder this year?
No.
Key. This is where the skill comes in. And this is where value comes in. Now, don't think, I'm gonna be hitting this today. Dude, her first year, she probably did like 70 grand. If that, probably less. I gave her some. Probably like 32. Okay? And probably spent 40 on leads. Spent 40 on leads, issued 32, and I was like, how are you doing this? It's like American Express, it works. I'm like, God, it looks like it works. But damn, like, you need to like figure this out, you know? And she figured it out. But there was many times I was like, are you okay? Like you wrote 4 grand, like all month. And I know you spent 6,000 on leads. And her answer would always be, I'll figure it out. Wow. I'll figure it out. I'm like, okay. You sure? Because like, I don't know, like your lead bill's kind of scaring me now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, all right, you sure? Like, all right, but she figured it out. And every week, how many days a week you in the field?
3 or 4.
3 or 4? She's in the field 3. 3 days a week, probably 2.5. 2.5, 3, all right? And she sells 10, 15 grand a week, every week.
That's awesome.
And every policy you I don't know when's the last time she wrote a policy under $1,000. When's the last time you wrote a policy under $1,000?
I don't know.
She's like, never, I don't do that. Listen up, take notes, record it, okay? Because this is some good stuff. Give her a hand. Oh, by the way, she's in our office. She set all this up.
This training is amazing. Thank you everybody for coming. I appreciate everybody that traveled to come here and everybody that poured into us. So thank you all. It's been so much that I haven't wanted to take a pee break. So it's like a run day. So I think a lot of it all has to start with your structure and how you set up an appointment to begin with. And I think when you walk in and you start asking people questions, you put a wall up. Because I think people then get hesitant to wanting to share too much information. So it's sort of like when you ask people about their bank account, like when they didn't know that was coming, they're gonna put a wall up and not wanna give you that information. So I think when I get to an appointment, I am introducing myself and I'm laying it out and telling them exactly how that appointment is gonna go. So it kind of goes something like, hey, I'm Chantal. You know, I'm a broker, so I'm here to help you find the best option. What a broker means is I work for you, not for them. Okay, so I'm gonna be asking you a lot of questions today. I'm not trying to be nosy, I'm just trying to identify which company, which product might best suit you. So it's very important that you guys be completely honest with me, especially with medical stuff, because different companies approve things differently. I wanna make sure I steer you in the right direction. Once I find something that makes sense and fits your budget, I'm gonna be submitting an application on your behalf to that particular company. It makes no difference to me which company you guys wanna go with, but I'm gonna direct you according to approval. So make sure you're being completely honest so that I can steer you in the right direction. And then I'll ask, you know, is there any reason why you would not move forward as long as we find something that makes sense and fits your budget? I wait for their answer, shall we proceed, and I move on to ask the questions. And I'm gonna start with your mortgage, your financials, what you have in place already, if anything. We're gonna get into some medical, and then we're gonna come up with some options. When you lay it out with that, they're going to be a little bit more at ease because you've already told them what you're gonna do. I think asking questions is the most important thing to getting information from people. It's gonna be able to make you learn them. How can you get them to do things? How can you make recommendations if you don't know them? So I ask a lot of questions. I ask not just the pertinent things like, you know, their mortgage, their interest rate, whatever, but I'm asking, how many kids do you have? What are their ages? You know, what are they in at any activities? If they're older kids, do they live close by? How often do you see them? Do you have grandchildren? Lately with COVID, I'm asking people, has COVID made you be locked down, or have you guys been vacationing? Did you get out of here? You know, because I'm trying to learn the people, I'm trying to learn what they do, like, so I know if they vacation a lot, you know, then I know they're spenders, they wanna go. If they've got grandchildren, what that looks like for them, like are they wanting to care for those kids? You learn about their family, whether, I ask how often do they see them, do you guys have them over for things, like anytime there's a holiday coming by, I'm like, so do you have them all over here for Thanksgiving, or do you go to them? Like, I ask a lot of questions so that I can learn about their family. And I think that is not really rapport building, so to speak, because I'm asking it as I'm filling out, you know, their client inventory worksheet, but it's also so that I can learn about them, so that I can use that when it comes time to make a recommendation and to get premium out of them. Some other things that I'm asking is, and you guys have probably heard this if you've heard any trainings, is, you know, about their finances. You know, do you have anything else that acts like coverage? Any stocks, bonds, annuities, 401k, IRA? When I ask about their income, I want them to break it out. I want to know if they're older, especially, like how much of that is Social Security, how much of that is pension, how much of that is, you know, are you taking from an annuity? If you cashed out your annuity right now, how much would that be? How long have you had your annuity? I want to know all these things because I want to know whether there's something more I can do for them. If they've had that annuity for like 15 years, obviously there's probably something better, and I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to say, hey, you know what? Annuities are kind of like technology. 15 years ago, the phone did not look like this. Annuities are kind of the same, so there's probably something better now. So I bring things up like that so that I can get more out of them. I'm also asking about when it comes to their pension, I'm asking, when you took that pension, did you take the higher amount or the lower amount? And you know, it's so funny that a lot of people will look at me and they're like, huh? And I'm like, you must have took the higher amount, because everybody that took the lower amount knows, because that was a really big decision to take that lower amount so that your spouse could get the benefit when you died. I mean, they know. So if they don't know, if they're like, I don't know, I'm like, you took the higher amount. So these are all important things to know, like to learn about the people, so that you know kind of what they're like and how to help them move forward on what the recommendation would be, as far as, okay, if he dies, you get this. If she dies, this is what you get, so that you know. Does that make sense? If like I just had somebody the other day, and he was so difficult. This was Saturday's appointment. I think I posted it on Slack. And he was difficult to book an appointment. He didn't want to book. He said, no, I don't think we really need anything. I said, well, that's great. I'm just going to be out your way on Saturday. So I'm just going to come by, bring the information to you. We'll see whether or not, you know, this is something that you need. I got the appointment, I get there. The wife literally like drove out the driveway when I was like walking up. And I'm like, what the heck? So I get in there and I'm like, was that your wife? He said, yeah, she had to go get her eyebrows done. I'm like, is she coming right back? He said, yeah, like in 20 minutes. And I said, okay, well, I'll just go out to my car. He said, I don't know that we really need this. And he did this, and then I was like, yeah, he said this on the phone. So I'm like, let me just ask him some questions, because if this is gonna be a waste of my time, I'll move on to my next appointment. So I started asking him some questions about, you know, well, why are you saying this, you know, why are you thinking this is not important? Well, you know, and he just started feeding me a bunch of stuff. Well, you know, I've got 130,000, she's got 80,000. I don't really think we need this. And I'm like, great, go grab those policies. And always get them to grab their policies. They're never what they say. They're never what they say. So they went and they grabbed their policies, or he went and he was digging them out. And he had this accordion folder and he's pulling stuff out. In the meantime, because it took him forever, she comes home and he's like, where's the other policies that we got? And she's digging stuff out. Anyway, they put a pile of stuff in front of me and I'm digging through them. And I'm like, yeah, okay, so she's got 30,000 and you've got 27,500. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah. Oh, okay. And then we're going through the rest of the questions that I'm going through, and they didn't have any. At the end of the day, he says, so I really wanted this because she's gonna get my pension, but if she dies, I got nothing. I'm like, so you want coverage on her? Yes. So you're only concerned about getting coverage on her? Yes. Great. Now that took us 30 minutes.
You had to go through a lot of limits.
Oh my God, I was jumping through hoops. But hey, I got there.
Yeah.
I got there, and I think it was like $180 a month. But it was like, but I got there, you know, and I think a lot of people might not have gotten that appointment, or they might have walked out the door when they gave them the, I don't want to, you know, I don't think we need it.
Can you kind of hit on that, like, you just kind of glossed over, get their policies, you hit on like, but that's how you say it?
Go ahead and grab those policies.
Is that how you guys would do it? You say no, say no. No, that's not how I would do it when I start. Hey ma'am, Paige, do you know where those policies are? Would you mind grabbing those?
That's the way I used to do it.
And then you're like, why don't I ever get my policies? Versus, hey, go grab that real quick. Oh, I don't know where it is. Okay, well, your house ain't that big. You need some help. Then you just get up, and the next thing you know, they're like, oh, it's right here. And they pull it out fast as hell. You know what I mean? But that's big stuff. You'll sell a lot of policies just by telling them to get their policy.
Yeah, and be clear, sometimes they might not know where they are, and sometimes you can tell by being in their home, and it's clearly a disaster, that they really might not be able to find it. And in which case, I'm like, bring up your bank statement and tell me who it is that's drafting your account.
Yeah.
And then they'll say whatever, and I'll be like, okay. They're like, just gonna call them and find out about your policy.
Don't ask for permission.
I'm not asking permission, I'm gonna find out what it is. Remember on the phone when I said, hey, if you get your policies out, get your ID, prescriptions of policies, if you get that out, it's gonna save us time. It would save us time, but since you don't have it, I'm gonna call them and I'm gonna find out, so we're gonna find out. And I'm gonna find out, and I'm gonna ask, so when you get them on the phone, you're gonna ask these specific questions. What type of policy is it? Is it a term, is it a whole life, is it a universal life? If it's a universal life, the questions you wanna ask is at what point is that premium going to change or end? Like, you wanna know, like, how long was that premium guaranteed for? And you wanna know, at that point, can you tell us what it's going to go up to? Because a lot of agents wanna set people up on something from years ago that it goes from like $60 a month to now it's going up to $400 a month. So they don't know that. So if you present that, then all of a sudden this is not something they're going to keep any longer, and that then gives you opportunity to replace that or put them in a position where, hey, you can have this for the next 2 years, but now you're gonna have this that's gonna pick you up from here till whenever. Or you're doing a whole life for them, so you have that for the rest of your life. So you need to know all this information. The more information you know ahead of time, and people aren't gonna move forward if they don't know this stuff. So how many people have gotten an appointment where the client said, we don't know where that is, so we'll just have to get that to you later. Because they used to tell me that all the time, and I think to me it was like a checklist. I was like, okay, I asked that question. Okay, checklist. But I wasn't using it to my advantage. It was just, okay, I asked the question, moving on. But you have to know, because they're not gonna move forward if you don't have the answer. So you have the answer, then you can move forward, because now you know what they have. You know where they stand, and now you know how to make a recommendation. So, moving on from that, yeah,
With that said, I mean, is it pretty difficult to get on the phone with other insurance carriers?
no. Now, the only thing is like, they're gonna, when you get on with the carrier, they're gonna have to get permission to speak to you. So when you're waiting on hold, you're just gonna say, hey, they're gonna want your personal information, and they're gonna get your okay that they can talk to me. So you just let them know ahead of time. It's kind of like setting up an appointment, like when you tell them what's gonna happen, it's okay. It's the same thing like if you uncover annuity money, when you tell the client like, hey, your financial advisor is not gonna like that you're talking to me, like when you tell people what's gonna happen, it's like, okay, yeah, she said that was gonna happen. She told the truth. When you set it up correctly, everything runs smoothly. So when you ask questions, you lead them, you're direct, you're confident, you're structured, people don't have a problem with sharing the information. At the end of the appointment, when you're saying, you know, hey, if I were able to approve you, which I can't, but do any of these make financial sense? I'm showing them 3 options. Yeah, this one, great. I need you to go get your checkbook and whatever, or your ID and whatever bank account you're gonna use, and I'll flip over my laptop and I'll start like logging in. I'm very, very assumptive that I'm writing an application, because in the beginning I said, when we find something that makes sense and fits your budget, we're gonna fill out an application, submit to that company. I already said it. So when I said it, and now they said, that one, great, go get that stuff, let's go. And it's only $180 a month. You know, I don't make things be a big deal. And I think that's the biggest thing. I think you need to have amnesia between appointments. And I think you need to not be thinking about your own bank account when you talk to people, especially if you're new and especially if you have not yet had success. Because as he said, I did not at one time. And my lead bill was more than I made. I've been there. I haven't always been in the position I'm in. But I was confident that there was people that I was watching, that I was learning from, and I was like, God, if that guy can do it, I'm sure I can try to figure this out. Like, I just gotta do what he's doing, right? So I think when you do that, and when you structure yourself in a way, and then you make things not be a big deal, clients are gonna feed off of your energy. And if you're like, oh God, that's like $110 a month, it's like, all of a sudden it's like, I don't know. But you're like, hey, it's $180 a month, yep. Like I went to see this one couple last week, and it was like, I think it was like, each of them was like close to $200. It was no big deal to them. Why was I gonna make it be a big deal? They need the coverage, and it's gonna give them $250,000 each if they each die. So I mean, why do we think with our own pocketbooks? But I mean, I maybe once did that, and I think everybody does do that. But I promise you, your bank account will grow if you can stop that. Does that make sense? Perfect sense. Yeah.
When you're talking to the carrier for the client, do you need to say that you're a friend of the family, or do you not say you're an agent, or does it matter?
I just say I'm a friend.
Okay.
Yeah. I just say, hey, I give them the policy number if I have it. If I don't have it, which sometimes I don't. Sometimes you do have the policy, but there's not enough details. It might just be a statement that they have, so you don't really know what it is. Sometimes you don't have a policy and you're trying to get that information as well. So I just say, yeah, we just want to get some information on the policy. Here's the name, whatever. And they're like, hey, are they there? Yeah, they're here, right here. And they're like, yeah. And they're like, and who's this? I'm like, hey, I'm Chantal. Is it okay that we talk to Chantal? Yep, that's okay.
Okay.
And then you just move on. Yep, there's never been an issue. Now, if you ask them ahead of time, like again, if you make it be a big deal, it will be a big deal. That's why you don't ask them. You just pick up the phone. And they're like, what are you doing? I'm calling the company. And they're like, why? Because we need to know what you got. Like, I'm here to do a job. Like, I came here to figure this out. I asked you to have it, you don't have it, so we're gonna call and we're gonna figure this out. So, you know, I do
Chantal?
say that in
Do
pre-appointment.
you have it on speaker so they can hear the company
Oh,
answer?
yeah, for sure. I definitely put it, well, I have to put it on speaker because they have to approve them talking to me.
But you keep it on speaker.
And I keep it on speaker so that they can hear, oh yeah, that's gonna go up, yeah, yep, it's gonna go up to this, and then it's gonna go up to this, and then it's gonna go up to this. And then I'm like, okay, awesome. Great, nope, that's all we needed to know, perfect. Thank you.
Really quick, how do you play that on like a Saturday when they're closed, things like that, if you're trying to find some information that's pertinent and they're closed or whatnot? What do you typically do in that scenario?
I don't remember the last time that happened actually on a Saturday.
Um,
You honestly, you just gotta wait.
I mean,
Sometimes
I have helped people find the policies, I have gone digging through, especially like if they seem like they're a bit disabled, I'm like, hey, I got this.
Don't worry about it.
Tell me where, I'm gonna run up those stairs, cause I can see that's a problem for you. Where upstairs am I going? And I've run upstairs, I've done through people's, like, okay, I'm just,
That's, yeah,
yeah,
I got you.
yeah.
I have a question. So when you're writing down the 3 options, I've always, I've never really gone into, I don't say out loud how much the premium is. Do you go over it one by one, like this is gonna cost you only this much a month? Or do you just slide them over the paper, let them look at it and just continue on with your
So, like, okay, so if it's let's say it's a final expense,
Mm-hmm.
okay? So I'm gonna show them the top amount.
Mm-hmm.
This is the most you can get, okay? And I'm always starting at the most. This is the most you can get, and I'm tiering it down. Now, depending on what their finances are, might vary the tiering that I do. Like, let's say we're talking about America, I'm doing 30,000, and if it seems like, because of their financial inventory and my evaluation of their situation, I might start at 30, but then I might go to 20 and 10 because of what I think they can afford, because I asked them all the questions and I actually know. I'm not making assumptions, I've actually found out. Or I'm doing like 30, 25, 20. And then I'm writing that out, and if it's final expense, yeah, I'm writing it out, and I'm just saying, hey, here it is.
And
This-
this costs this much, or,
Yeah.
because I just write it out, I slide it in a piece of paper, and
I
I like
turn
while
it
you're
around.
looking at
I
that.
turned around and I said, this is the most you can get. I gave you a couple of different options. We said it had to make sense, fit your budget. I need you to make sure that, if, you get a flat tire next week, regardless what happens, you can afford this coverage. We need to make sure you're not gonna cancel this. It's very important, as you said, because of Bob and whatever. I'm bringing back the conversation you had in the beginning. And bringing that back to bring the emotion back out of what they said, reiterating. And then they're like, yeah, okay, yeah, that one.
Okay, yeah, because I didn't know if, like you said, the premiums with it and like really went over,
Now,
or
if
just
it's-
split them a piece of
If
paper.
it's mortgage, and so there's 2 different things. Mortgage, if it was like a senior and I'm showing critical time coverage because they didn't qualify, I'm breaking it out by, hey, this is gonna buy you this many months, and I'll show it, this is the monthly premium, and I'm just showing them that in that direction. If it's a mortgage protection, I'm probably showing them 2 options. I'm showing them doing the full amount of the mortgage and then maybe a 50%. Like, if the husband and wife are like a 50-50 deal. If they're both working, then that's typically what I do. I'm like, hey, not everybody wants to cover the full amount. If you each are 50-50 in partnership in this marriage, if you can't afford to cover the full amount on each of you, you can do like half amount if you're okay with that. Which one of these makes the most sense to you? And I'll show them those options. And then I'll just communicate with them. They're like, well, I don't know, I like the full amount. I'm like, not everybody does the same thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, sometimes one spouse might do the full amount and the wife might do half. It's, now we communicate, you communicate with me with what makes sense and we figure it out. I'm here to help you figure it out. I'm just throwing out some options.
Yeah, thank you. I was just trying to figure out when you were going through, like, oh, it only costs you like $180 a month.
Mhm.
Because I've never like said the premium out loud to
Oh, no.
anyone.
Oh, I always do.
I never do until like we're wrapping up and everything.
No, I always say it. You know, 186 a month together. If it's a mortgage, very often we'll do it together. Like together, it's gonna be this much. This is how much you're gonna get back if it's a cashback option. This is how much you're gonna get back. This is how much you're gonna save if you pay your mortgage off early. So it depends on what kind of appointment it is.
Yeah.
But I'm always bringing value to what it is. And I think like anybody that's on our Slack, I think there's been several times where I'll be like, hey, value over price. So many people that I come behind, like they go Mutual of Omaha Term Life Express because it's cheap. And I'm like, I'll come behind them and I'm like, well, most people that I see do the cashback option and here's what you're gonna save. And they're like, oh my God, yeah, that totally makes sense. And I'm like, it's only $175. I'm totally doing that. Screw the $65 a month.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hell yeah. I did 2 in a row. I did 2 in a row. The same guy, I'm like, God, I love this agent. Where is he?
Find him.
Where's all his appointments? I'm gonna just go right behind him every time.
Hire him.
Yeah, I need to find his contact.
There, your clients have it.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know what kind of time I got left.
You can, you can.
Okay,
wrap it up,
okay.
yeah.
Anybody got questions?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
As far as, I mean, I know I call you all in the field, usually you know the answer. What's the biggest beneficial resource that you use all the time to build your knowledge up of your products? Just go through carriers, websites, and read your guidelines, or?
I will be honest with you, it is not about the products. It is about the cheat sheet. What do they qualify for? We didn't have that when we started. If you can just use that, like use that. It tells you, like, they got cancer? Who will qualify them? I mean, we know the difference between term and whole life and universal. We know these, you know, what the products are. You can read probably 2 sentences and get the gist of it. Now, Mike had one the other day where it's like, okay, you're just getting started in that universal. I want universal life. I'm like, oh shit. Okay, put me on speakerphone. Like, okay, so, I mean, that was a little bit different. But for the most part, you know already. You got your license. You already know most of it. It's really not much about the products. They don't know. The clients don't know. Like, okay, so Americo's got the 100%, critical illness, whereas Mutual's only got 80%. There you go. That's all you need to know. That, seriously, I mean, it's not that deep. It really isn't. It's about what do they qualify for. And I mean, clients want to tell us what they want. We got to tell them what they can get. And it's really more about that. So I wouldn't spend much time really, I want to know everything about the product. I mean, I was that person. I was like, well, I don't know. I just feel like I need to know everything. It's like, no, you already do. Like, what you need to know is how to communicate with people, how to get them to move forward, you know, how to ask the questions, how to be confident and structured in the house. Those are the things that you need to know. How do you book appointments? If you're not getting 30 plus appointments, why not? Why don't you work on that? That's what you need to work on. You don't need to work on the product. You need to work on getting more appointments.
Yeah. That's huge. There's a lot of people running 18 appointments a week worried about their in-home.
Seriously. Call me when you're there. I'll help
If
you.
you run
Put me on
30
speakerphone, I'll do
and
it.
you still have, you feel like you have an in-home problem, call us. Call us. At 30, you feel like you got an in-home problem, we'll fix it. But at 17, 16, 12, I ain't that good. It's like you coming to the gym eating Snickers. What am I gonna do? You know what I mean? Like, it's not gonna work. You know, it's just like, but you have, but it's things like that that we have to, we gotta know this. We have to know, like, well, this is how I'm gonna get better at this. You know what I mean? It's not, running towards product is like a, it's easy to do. Because it's easy to say you don't know. You know, and there's things to find out. But those things to find out aren't gonna help you get people to move. You know, my confidence of the products didn't allow me to talk to Tom when he said, I want to think about it. That didn't help me. I was like, oh, I know about all the living benefits, but he goes, I want to think about it now. I'm like, shit, I don't want to say it. You know what I mean? Like, shit, I know about the product. Like, you know what I mean? But you got to be good at, hey, I want to think about it. All right, Tom, with all due respect, can I tell you the truth today? Yeah, no, I'd love it if you tell me the truth. All right, great, 'cause that means I don't have to remember it. You're in the fourth quarter. I don't know if you're at the beginning, middle, and you may be in overtime. Are you really trying to push it? Because this whole think about it thing means like you don't really trust me. It has nothing to do, because I know you know you're 78, and you know you're gonna die. So what about me is not allowing you to help? What about me is not allowing you for me to help? Whatever. Stupid stuff like just you know, just really, but that's not in a guide. That's not in the guide at all. That's on podcasts. You hear people talk about stuff on podcasts and things like that, but it's really about, and I'll get into, and thanks,
Yeah.
Chantal.
Yeah.
You did great.